The story of the great patriarch, Abraham. After waiting until he was 100 years old before having a son, God told him to kill that same son and remain childless from the womb of Sarah. If it were you, how would you feel? If you have been following our series of stories of the life of the great patriarch, Abraham from the beginning unto this time, you will understand that he has gone through a lot. The old man has suffered so many things, and it's just as if his suffering is increasing every day instead of getting better. Now that it had seemed to be over, another great test to murder his child, his own flesh and blood. Before we continue this great emotional story, if you haven't watched our previous episodes, kindly follow the on-screen pop-ups to watch the story of Abraham from part 1 to the last part on this YouTube channel. If you haven't subscribed yet, please help us click on that subscribe button and subscribe to this YouTube channel. Please. Thanks. Welcome to Bible Stories Dramatized, your top choice YouTube channel for epic and timeless Bible stories just as they happened. Before you continue watching, please subscribe to this YouTube channel, like this video, share, and turn on the notification bell for more. Thank you. Happy watching. Abraham's greatest test, the unthinkable command. A new day, looking like every other day, but different. A great test of faith, to commit an act that is condemned by the same person telling you to do so. Imagine God telling you to kill the only child He gave to you just to show that you are willing to obey Him always. The sun rose that day like any other in the land of promise, its golden rays spilling gently across the rugged hills and dry plains of Canaan, brushing the edges of Abraham's camp with warmth. Birds chirped softly, the winds whispered gently through the trees of Beersheba, and all seemed still, calm, peaceful, too peaceful for what was about to happen. Abraham, now older, worn by the weight of his years and sharpened by the fires of trial, stood outside his tent in quiet reflection. He had come a long way from the land of his fathers. His beard, streaked with white, told tales of hardship and divine encounter. His eyes, still burning with purpose, looked far beyond the tents and cattle and into a horizon unseen by mortal eyes. The miracle child, Isaac, was now growing into a strong young man, full of questions, full of energy, full of promise. And just as it seemed that peace had finally settled on Abraham's household, the voice came again, the same unmistakable voice that once called him out of Haran, the voice that had led him through deserts, past kings and famine, that had spoken in visions and dreams. But this time the voice said something utterly unthinkable. Abraham. And the old man, without hesitation, answered, "Here I am." Then came the words that would echo across history like thunder, "Take now your son, your only son Isaac, whom you love, and go to the land of Moriah, and offer him there as a burnt offering on one of the mountains I will tell you about." There was silence. Not from the voice, but from the world itself. Time stood still. What was this? Was this the same God who had promised that through Isaac the nations would be blessed? The same God who had turned Sarah's barrenness into laughter? And now, this? Offer him? Sacrifice the very son of promise? Did Abraham weep that night? Did he pace the floor of his tent, battling the thoughts that raged in his mind? The scripture doesn't say. But one can imagine the silent turmoil, the storm of sorrow behind closed eyes, the thousand whys, which were echoing through his soul. Still, when morning came, Abraham rose early, saddled his donkey, and took with him 2 young men and Isaac, his beloved. There were no complaints. No arguments. Only obedience. And what an obedience it was! The long journey to Moriah. The journey to Moriah was not short, it stretched across 3 agonizing days. 3 days of silence, of watching Isaac walk beside him, full of life and innocence. 3 days of listening to the crunch of gravel under their sandals and the low breathing of the donkey. 3 days of sunrises that mocked the dark cloud in Abraham's heart. Can you imagine what it felt like? Each night when they stopped to rest, Abraham may have looked at Isaac's sleeping face, so peaceful, so unaware, and wondered if he could really go through with it. Could he raise a knife against the son he had waited 100 years for? Could he turn that mountain top into an altar of ashes? And yet, he pressed on. On the third day, Abraham lifted his eyes and saw the mountain. Mount Moriah loomed in the distance, silent, ancient, watching. Turning to his 2 young servants, he said words that have puzzled theologians and stirred faith in the hearts of generations. "Stay here with the donkey. The lad and I will go yonder and worship, and we will come back to you." Did you hear that? We will come back to you. Was it a lie? Or was it a declaration of faith? Abraham had learned too much about God to assume finality. He believed, somehow, some way, that even if he went through with the sacrifice, God was able to raise Isaac from the dead. That's how strong his faith had become. That's how much he trusted the one who called him. And so, they climbed the mountain. Isaac, now aware that something was missing, turned to his father. "My father," he called. And Abraham, with love deeper than words, replied, "Here I am, my son." "Look," Isaac said, "the fire and the wood, but where is the lamb for a burnt offering?" The old man's heart must have trembled, but his voice remained steady. "My son, God will provide for himself the lamb for a burnt offering." What a statement! A prophecy disguised in a father's answer. Words that would not only echo on that mountain but would one day be fulfilled on another, where another father would offer his only son. The altar and the knife. The scene was surreal. Isaac, trusting his father without resistance, allowed himself to be bound. What faith did the boy have to let himself be tied without protest? What trust must he have had in Abraham, and in the God Abraham served? And Abraham, hand shaking but heart resolved, laid him upon the wood. There was no one around. No crowd. No choir. Just the wind. And the sound of Abraham reaching for the knife. He lifted it high. The blade glistened in the sun. His hands trembled. Heaven watched. And just as the knife began its descent, a voice thundered from the heavens, "Abraham! Abraham!" "Here I am," he answered, breathless. "Do not lay your hand on the lad, or do anything to him. For now I know that you fear God, since you have not withheld your son, your only son, from me." Tears may have burst from Abraham's eyes. Relief flooded his soul like a river. And just then, he looked up and saw, caught in a thicket by its horns, a ram. A substitute. A sacrifice. He quickly unbound Isaac, heart racing, joy overwhelming. Together they offered the ram instead. And that place, that mountain, would be named Yahweh-Ir, Jehovah-Jireh, the Lord will provide. And indeed, he had. And indeed, he still does. The covenant renewed. As the smoke of the sacrifice rose to the sky, so too did the Lord speak again. "By myself I have sworn," said the Lord, "because you have done this thing, and have not withheld your son, your only son, blessing I will bless you, and multiplying I will multiply your descendants as the stars of the heaven and as the sand which is on the seashore. And in your seed all the nations of the earth shall be blessed because you have obeyed my voice." It was not just a reward, it was a reaffirmation of the eternal covenant. A covenant now sealed in obedience, in faith, in Lessons from the Mount, the test of Abraham. What would you do if God asked for the one thing you loved most? Would you obey, without delay? Would you trust, even when your heart breaks? Would you surrender, even when it feels like losing everything? Abraham stood on Mount Moriah with trembling hands and a torn heart. Not because he lacked faith, but because faith, real faith, is proven when it's hardest to obey. And yet, in that moment of surrender, we see something greater than pain. We see obedience. We see trust without answers. We see a shadow of something far greater to come, the day when God himself would offer his own son, not in symbol, but in reality. The lesson here is not just about sacrifice, it's about knowing God. God never intended to take Isaac away. He only wanted to see if Abraham feared him above all. And when Abraham passed that test, heaven spoke. The covenant was reaffirmed. And generations would be blessed through his faith. So ask yourself, what is your Isaac? What are you holding so tightly that it could be standing in the way of deeper trust in God? When the test comes, and it will come, will you pass? This is not just a story from the past. It's a mirror. A question. A challenge. Now, if this story touched your heart, if it made you reflect on your own walk of faith, don't keep it to yourself. Please click on the like button to show your support for these powerful Bible retellings. Comment below with the lesson that struck you the most. Share this video with someone who needs encouragement today. And subscribe so you don't miss the next part of Abraham's journey, which is part 5. Because in part 5, we move deeper. Love, loss, legacies, and the final days of Abraham, full of wisdom, revelation, and grace. The journey of faith doesn't end on Mount Moriah. It continues, and you won't want to miss what's next. After the test to sacrifice his son, what happened next? How did the remaining days of Abraham end? What are the mistakes and choices he probably made? Click on the Part 5 advert on your screen now to watch the Part 5. See you in Part 5. Thank you for watching this great Bible story dramatized. We want to hear your opinions, questions and thoughts in the comments section. Before you leave, please help us subscribe to this YouTube channel, like this video, share to others, and turn on the notification bell for more contents. Please. Thank you.